Hey everyone, so today we're going to be discussing Module 4 of Psychology, specifically social psychology.
So the first thing we're talking about is the attribution process, which has the internal attribution and external attribution. So for the first example, internal attribution is when behavior is caused by something in the person.
You have a psych test.
I don't really feel comfortable saying it.
Well, I got a 98.
Yeah, I got 95.
Oh, I got a 40. Well, anyways, guys, I gotta go to psych.
Bye.
Bye.
How do you get a 40 on the test?
That's like so bad.
I think she's just really lazy.
Yeah, probably. I never see her study. So the second type is external attribution, where behavior is caused by the situation or environment.
You have a psych test.
Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of bad.
I got 98.
I got 95.
I got a 40.
Oh, it's okay.
I gotta go to psych. Bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh.
So I actually heard her dog died.
Oh my gosh, that's probably why. Like, I wouldn't be able to study
I
after
wouldn't
that.
be able either. So the next thing we're going to talk about is explanatory style, which is a way a person creates a narrative about a specific event in their life. So the first example is optimistic, where you view your situation as temporary, and there are aspects that you can control and it's not your fault and you can change them.
Oh my gosh, I got a 1 on the psych exam.
You know what? I know it kind of sucks right now, but it's fine. You can get this grade up. You still have time to study and flash your cards every night.
And the next part of explanatory style is pessimistic, where you view that your causes of outcomes are stable, that you can't change them.
Oh my gosh, I got a 1 on the psych exam.
At this point, I would just give up. The exam's right around the corner. What can you really do? I would accept your fate.
Yeah.
The actor-observer bias consists of when our behavior as the actor, if it's inappropriate, it's due to external causes, meaning that it's not our fault. But then if we're the observer, others' behavior, if it's inappropriate, it's due to internal causes. So Bree, how was your game?
It was really bad. We lost 8-0, and my players wouldn't even pass me the ball. I was open the entire time. They don't know how to shoot. It was just a really bad game. They just don't know how to play.
Have you heard about Bree losing her soccer game?
Really? No.
Well, yeah, I heard she's really bad at passing the ball, and she's the worst one on her team.
So the next thing is fundamental attribution error, which is a tendency to overemphasize internal factors and the tendency to underemphasize external factors.
A locus of control is how in control you feel about the events that influence your life. So an internal locus of control would be how one believes that one's own actions have an impact on one's life. And that refers to you being in control of what happens to you.
The other example is external locus of control, and that's the belief that external factors such as fate or luck are responsible for the outcomes of what happened to you.
Next thing we're talking about is the mere exposure effect, which essentially just by being around someone or something more, you tend to like them more, not just because you know them or got to know them better, but because you've been around them for such a long time.
Bro.
Hi, sweetie, how was your day?
It was good.
How's your new bus driver?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
Oh.
Bro.
Hey, Mom.
Hey.
Can I get a gift card for my bus driver?
But sweetie, I thought you didn't like her.
Oh, I don't know. I've been taking the bus for a while, and she seems nice.
Okay.
Next is the self-fulfilling prophecy, which is the expectance that leads to a certain behavior pattern while consequence confirms the expected, such as the toilet paper shortage during COVID-19. And an example is the Pygmalion in the classroom study, which is where 20% of the class was labeled as late bloomers, and those were the top students at the end of the year with gains in IQ, and that shows the effects of stereotypes.
The next thing is social comparison, which is a proposition that people evaluate their abilities, attitudes in relation to those of others in a process that plays a significant role in self-image and subjective well-being. And the two examples is upward and downward comparison. And upward is basically you're comparing yourself to people who you think are better than you, and downward is when you compare yourself to people you think you're better than.
Wait, look at this new color scrunchie.
These are so
cute.
So much better than me because they have scrunchies.
Oh, look at that girl. She doesn't have a scrunchie.
Oh my gosh, she's so way more better than her.
So next is relative deprivation, and that's the belief that a person will feel deprived or entitled to something based on the comparison to someone else, and that's based on the notion that people will often feel that they have less than some comparative standard.
So the next thing we have is prejudice and stereotypes, which is a negative attitude to or evaluation of a person due to a membership in a group, and it's a set of beliefs about a characteristic of a group. Some examples would be like implicit attitude, which is evaluation that occurs without conscious awareness toward an attitude about yourself. These evaluations are generally favorable and come out about from various influences. Next, we have just world phenomenon, which is a tendency to believe that the world is just and fair and that people get what they deserve. And then we have in-group versus out-group, which is a social identity theory where we categorize self and others in favor of one's own group. An example would be the Mean Girls cafeteria scene, where you have all the popular mean girls and then you have goth. Next, we have ethnocentrism, which is a tendency to see the world through the lens of our own culture. The belief that one's cultural practices are superior to others. Then we have belief perseverance, which is a tendency to maintain a belief even after the information that originally gave rise to it has been refuted or shown to be inaccurate.
Confirmation bias is the tendency to gather evidence that confirms pre-existing expectations, typically by emphasizing or pursuing supportive evidence while dismissing or failing to see contradictory evidence. And cognitive dissonance is Leon Festinger's theory that unpleasant state of tension exists when two inconsistent cognitions are held and they need to give up one of the cognitions to get rid of the tension.
Consonance is when there's no inconsistency among attitudes and behaviors. Attitudes and change include social cognition, which includes reasoning and behavior, positive or negative evaluations of people, objects, ideas, or events versus beliefs, perceptions of factual matters of true or false.
Okay, social norms is the perceived and informal rules that define acceptable and appropriate actions within a given group or community, which guides human behavior. These consist of what we do, what we believe others do, and what we believe others approve of.
What's up, guys?
Oh my god.
Why are you wearing that to the library?
I thought it'd be fun to try something out. Sorry, I forgot to shave my
I just
legs.
don't think that's something you wear to a library.
That's really odd.
I thought it was fine.
What's going on down there?
I forgot to shave my legs.
So next we have social influence theory, which talks about how people are more likely to do whatever they see as being the norm. States that people have a tendency to change their behavior according to those around them. And then we have central route to persuasion, which consists of thoughtful consideration of the arguments of the message, and it's usually proven through facts. And then we have peripheral route to persuasion, which occurs when the listener decides whether to agree with the message based on other cues besides the strength of the argument, such as purchasing a car because it's good looking. Then there's the halo effect, which is a type of cognitive bias in which our overall impression of a person influences how we feel and think about their character. Emmy is so pretty. She must also be good at AP Chem. Next, we have foot in the door, which is used by most salespeople, and it essentially is if someone complies with a small request, then they're more likely to comply with the larger one.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Do you think you could donate $10 to my small business?
You know what? Sure.
Thanks.
Hello?
Hi. Do you think you could donate $100 to my small business?
You know what? Yeah.
Okay, our next term is door in the face, which means that you're more likely to comply if you previously turned down a larger request. And in Keynote, it should be the same person making both requests.
Hello?
Hi, I recently broke my wrist and I had to get surgery, so can you help by donating $150 for my surgery?
I'm sorry, I can't help you with that.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi.
You again.
Yes. So I've been getting really close to my estimated goal that I want to get to, and there's just $50 left. So could you please donate just $50?
You know what? I'll be glad to help you out.
Thank you.
Next is Solomon-Asch experiment. This was set up to be a visual discrimination study matching one of 3 lines to a set line length, and the first 2 trials gave correct responses, and the third trial, the Confederates, who are people planted in an experiment to behave a certain way, they gave an incorrect answer, which subject conformed to give correct answer. Next is the obedience Milgram study, and this was performed by Stanley Milgram in 1974, and this was set up to see the effect of punishment on learning, and the teacher who was the real subject and a learner who was a Confederate. So the teacher provided electrical shocks to a learner for incorrect responses, and the prediction is that only 1/10 of 1% would comply, and all the participants continued until 300 volts.
Okay, so next we're going to be discussing individualism, collectivism, and multiculturalism. Individualism is a social cultural tradition, ideology, or personal outlook that emphasizes the individual and their rights, independence, and relationships with other individuals. An example of this is American culture. Collectivism is a worldview in which social behavior is guided largely by goals that are shared by a collective, such as family, tribe, work, group, or political or religious association. Interdependence and group solidarity are valued, and this includes Chinese culture. Multiculturalism is quality or condition of a society in which different ethnic and cultural groups have equal and access to power, but each maintains its own identity, characteristics, and morals.
Next, we're going to be discussing group dynamics on mental processes. The first is risky-ship, which is a tendency of a group to make decisions riskier than members would individually. Then we have group polarization, where most people take a moderate stance on most issues, and the discussion pulls to more extreme stance. Then we have groupthink, which is a mode of decision-making marked by deterioration of mental efficiency, reality testing, and moral judgment resulting from group pressures. Some examples is Bay of Pigs, Space Shuttle Challenger, and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Then we have diffusion of responsibility, where subjects readily assign responsibility to someone else and deny it themselves. Being part of a group lowers each individual's sense of responsibility. Then we have social loafing, which is a reduction of individual effort that occurs when people work in groups compared to when they work alone.
De-individuation is an experimental state characterized by loss of self-awareness, altered perceptions, and a reduction of inner restraints that results in performance of unusual and sometimes antisocial behavior. Next is social facilitation, and that's the improvement in an individual's performance of a task that often occurs when others are present. They tend to occur with tasks that are uncomplicated or have been previously mastered through practice. The false consensus bias is a type of bias in which we think that our own opinion, attitudes, and beliefs are common and appropriate so that others must also feel the same way. Next is superordinate goals, and that is a goal that takes precedence over one or more other more conditioned goals, and the goal can only be attained if the members of two or more groups work together by pooling their skills, efforts, and resources. An example of a superordinate goal is a social trap, and that is a social dilemma in which individuals or organizations or whole societies initiate a course of action or establish a set of relationships that lead to negative or even lethal outcomes in the long term. Industrial/organizational psychologist is a branch of psychology that studies human behavior in the work environment and applies general psychology principles to work-related issues and problems.
Aggression is behavior enacted with the intention of harming or destroying another person or object. Altruism is the unselfish helping of others. The social reciprocity norm is a social rule that maintains, among other things, that people should return favors and other acts of kindness. Incurring social debt describes the accumulation of unforeseen project costs or potential costs. An example of bystander apathy and diffusion of responsibility is the Kitty Genovese incident, where in 1964 she was stabbed to death in Queens, New York. Her attack lasted over 30 minutes, and 38 witnesses from their apartments saw this incident, but nobody called the police, which means that an increase in the number of bystanders decreases the likelihood of help and diffuses individual responsibility and takes cues of behavior from others.
That's it for social psychology. Thanks for watching. Bye!